Welcome to the 525 Records podcast. My guest today is a Portland legend. He's been kicking around for years. He's been a session player. He's been a band leader. He's even been a bass player. Mr. Mark Breitenbach.
With the lights out and the blinds all fixed, I finally cracked my code. A few shots, some kind words, a cigarettes to the trick. I let my guard down.
Some people seem to have more music than blood running through their veins. I like to think I'm one of those people, but I know for sure today my guest is definitely one of those people. His name is Mark Breitenbach. That was the I Cants you just heard. And welcome to the podcast. Enjoy the show.
I'd like to feel more down, then you tell my heart in the night. Said it's my fault you messed up, but you weren't the way. And all this time, all that you paid, just to throw me off and catch me away.
All right. Welcome to the first ever 525 Records podcast. Sitting here with the artist known as Mark Breitenbach.
Hey, Al. How's it going, brother?
Pretty good. I'm excited to have you on the very first ever 525 Records podcast. I've been trying to get this podcast going for so long. It's not even funny.
Well, I'm excited to be here, man. I'm glad I could be the first and break your virgin podcast.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. What kind of podcast do you listen to?
I really like comedy podcasts, so I'm kind of a Doug Loves Movies. How did this get made?
Yeah.
But
what about like Rogan or any of that?
I listen to a little bit of Rogan. He tends to just 3 hours is a little much for me, podcast wise. I kind of like a short and succinct podcast, like that's more to the point. But he tends to ramble a little much. But I do love Rogan, and I'll watch his clips continuously on YouTube.
Like the thought of releasing a comedy record to me is like,
pretty enticing.
Oh man, and just the whole comedy scene right now is just burgeoning and coast to coast.
That's true.
And you have all these young up and coming comics. And I just
in every city too.
Right.
Now it seems like.
And Portland's a pretty good comedy town. But
I am a big fan of Amy Miller, who I think is a Portland comedian.
I don't think I know her.
You haven't heard her before?
Uh-huh.
Oh man, she is hilarious, I think. I love her. She's on Doug Loves Movies a lot.
That's Doug Benson, right?
That's Doug Benson.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
does he still do that other one where it's
Getting High with Doug?
Yeah. Getting Doug with High.
Getting Doug with High. Sorry. Yeah, Getting Doug with High.
Reggie Watts was on that.
He was.
Too. Yeah, he was one of the first people.
They all get super baked and then they just go
Yeah.
and sit around and they just smoke weed, it seems like. So
Like Doug Benson's this like stereotypical stoner. He's like a character of a character.
Exactly.
It's pretty funny.
He has that other one too, the Interruption with Doug or something like that, where they watch a movie and then he just keeps interrupting the movie and talking throughout it.
Oh yeah, that's genius.
yeah,
It's like every
it's
YouTube
great.
video ever made.
Sure.
That's the whole. That's how you get around the fair use. Like you could start a YouTube channel that's movie reviews. You can play the movie and it's totally good. You just have to stop it and talk over it.
And
every
you don't have to worry
minute
about
and a half.
copywriting or the copyrights or anything.
And that's fair use.
That's pretty
It's
ingenious.
supposed to be fair use. And then therein lies the rub, where people claim that they'll take you down because you used a
Because
2-second
you used
clip
2-second
of some
from Indiana Jones or
Fast and the Furious.
Fast and the Furious, right? Gotcha.
Well, dude, speaking of which, you're a movie buff.
I am.
Large collection of movies. I happen to know this.
You do? I have a pretty
My sources tell me.
extensive Blu-ray DVD collection, whereas most people are downsizing their collections and going all digital. I tend to, mine is just growing bigger and bigger. So
I'm the same exact way.
Yeah.
I like the hard copy. I want a hard drive full of music. I don't pay for streaming. I mean, not yet. It's getting pretty hard not to now. But
yeah.
That reminds me. I stole from you one time a Ben Folds 5 DVD.
That's right.
From 1998.
Where they cover they do Vaseline on that one,
Yes.
don't they? Yeah.
Flaming Lips.
It's a pretty incredible concert. That
It really
footage. Is it live at 56th?
54th.
54th.
Sessions at 54th Street.
Session at 54th Street. That's right.
whatever you think about Ben Folds today, personally, you cannot argue the Ben Folds 5 from 95 to 99. Probably one of the greatest bands to ever grace any stage ever. This is that cut, Vaseline. I gotta be careful. I don't want to use too much of this.
I know a girl who thinks a ghost. She'll make you breakfast. She'll make you toast.
Listen to the harmonies when they hit the chorus. You hear Robert Sledge coming in with a high part. Robert Sledge, my personal hero, the big mouth bass player.
Any of these Vaseline.
This is why music publishing is in such a state of disarray. I mean, that was a TV show before the internet was really a thing. They're doing a lips cover. I mean, all the licensing required just to do that, I'm sure was a nightmare and a legal catastrophe. And then here we are today, 30 whatever years later, 20 years later. And, I'm trying to put it on a podcast because, try to squeeze it in a little 30-second clip that I'm commenting over so they don't rip it out. Hopefully that will fall under fair use guidelines. But you never know. Anyway, check that track out. It's man, that whole DVD is just it's a must-have, to say the least. When music was still music. But I digress. Back to the podcast. Let's hear a little Mark. Let's hear Mark playing guitar. He wasn't a teenage guitar player like the rest of us. He picked it up very late in life, and he's self-taught, and I think he did a pretty good job. Take a listen. Sounds like a guy using a pick, right? Doesn't it sound like your standard guitar player, rock and roll pick player? Well, you got another thing coming. He is pickless. He uses only fingers. He's all fingers all day. No picks, ever. I find it, fascinating. I challenge anyone to play that kind of guitar without a pick and see how far you get. You're not gonna get far. You're probably asking, oh, wow, what's the name of that track? Can I find it on iTunes? And the answer is no. It's unreleased. It's one of many of the, I would say, Prince-size vault of unreleased awesome recordings that were tracked professionally in good studios that have yet to be released or distributed because he's that high of a caliber of a songwriter. He has so many songs that he has literally 2-inch reels laying around full of, the most awesome cuts you'll ever hear. And he's spent the last couple of years kind of doing pre-production and SoundCloud recordings, that kind of thing. He's written about 30 songs in the last 2 years. It's pretty impressive.
27 songs that I put up.
You're one of the few guys that you have so many songs that I think you've forgotten more great songs than most people would write, in a decade.
You might be right. I know that it's been fun to revisit even old songs that I did, like with less cash, but I have songs that I started doing at the end of my marriage that I finished and put on SoundClouds and did, tried to mix and stuff like that, that now I don't remember how to play them because I haven't played them in forever. So, I definitely came up. I definitely was my goal was, I kind of said to myself, I want to do one song a month. And so if I could hit the one song a month, I was happy. And occasionally I'd get 2 songs a month. And then I would kind of slough off the next month, but it was always, I would still always come up with something. So that year and a half, or, the 12, yeah, that's where, 2 years worth of songs at a song a month, and sometimes 2, and that's where the 27 songs came from.
I think what's really impressive is the body of work before that point. It was, you'd been around the block a lot, and you've written a lot of songs on a lot of different instruments. And isn't it funny to look back on the music that you listened to back then and just go, I used to listen to the most stupidest hip hop. I don't want to say stupid, that's not the right word, but a lot of Too Short, a lot of I don't know what else, I think, you going back, knowing you back then, you were always like the ultimate DJ. You always had the freshest record that just came out, just always on top of the new music and whatever was dropped. Like Sublime, dude. You had that 40 Ounces of Freedom before anybody. Nice. 96 rolled around when we were kicking around. This is going to really make us sound old. But, yeah, I remember that very specifically.
I would go to Tower Records, or I would go to, there's a little record shop in Mowbray, and when I'd get out of school, I went to Aragon High School, and I'd walk over to the record shop, and they had, this was right when they started putting listening stations in, but they were the kind that were like, it wasn't like you could just take a record up and have them open it and listen to it. They had specific records that you were able to listen to on headphones, and you'd press 3, and it would pick, Sublime, or it would pick Trent D'Arby, or whatever. There were selective few, but I remember there would be 30 records that the staff there had picked out to put on this thing, and I would listen to every single one, no matter what. Didn't matter if it was hip hop, if it was rock, if it was reggae, if it was classical, jazz. I'd listen to it, and if it caught my ear, then I was sold, and I'd usually buy it.
Hey Siri, play Terrence Trent D'Arby.
Yes, there you go.
Playing Deer Hunter from.
Now that's what you get nowadays. You don't even need to. That's why places like Tower Records and places like Warehouse Music that I used to work at are no longer exist.
Yeah.
But everything comes back around, and we're starting to see more and more record shops and more places to actually produce, or to actually buy vinyl or even use CDs or anything like that. Even cassettes now are starting to come back. So it's.
When did you first move to Portland?
Well, it was 1997 that I ended up in Portland, and
a little band that we know, probably the world won't know, but it's a little band
that we're pretty close with.
We called 45 Minute Lick.
45 Minute Lick.
Free this beast will take a lifetime of work, a lifetime of storms, and a lifetime of
It's hard to believe this next cut is on the same record, but it is, and this is Mark gracing the piano. Pretty out there stuff. I really enjoy that cut. I think it's just fascinating. It's just disturbing on so many levels, but that it's on the same record as so many crunchy rock and roll numbers, I think is fascinating. But the first track was it's a song called Country Bunkin', and this last track with the piano is what we were calling de Toilette, and both those can be found on the 45 Minute Lick Bandcamp site if you so choose to visit. That's how we got to know each other.
That's right. how we got to know each other well. Yeah. That was our first.
Do you remember making that record at OTR?
I do. In Redwood City, right?
Yeah, well, in the Belmont Hills.
The Belmont Hills, that's what it was.
What made me think of it.
I do also remember that it was kind of a claim to fame because, was it Primus had recorded
Buckethead.
there? Buckethead,
Yeah.
Thank you. Buckethead had recorded there, yeah.
Just for the record, I don't think Primus ever recorded there, but Brain, who was in Primus at the time, did a Buckethead record there. So, just, a little historical context.
And then it had this really cool, I think there was a cool porch that you could go out on.
Yeah, it overlooked the whole Bay Area.
Yeah, totally.
Bring about 4 super burritos up.
That's right.
But they had that beautiful piano.
They had the grand in there, man. Yeah,
and 24 track. Mm-hmm. I remember our engineer, Generosa Litton, if you're out there somewhere.
Generosa, that's right.
You were the best.
Wow, how did you remember that name?
It's on the master tapes.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, gotcha.
But, very famous, somebody in the music world, I think her last name's Marenko, Cookie Moreno or Cookie Marenko, I forget. But she was the owner of the studio. She was also into something called Liquid, which was back in the late 90s, supposed to be a way ahead of its time music streaming service that never went off. But I remember one day when we were tracking in there, somebody coming in talking to Generosa about Netscape, how they'd just left their job at Netscape. And
oh, wow.
they were rich because of all the stock they had.
They had at Netscape and they were able to retire?
Yeah, Netscape went public or something like that. And,
that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, but that was, those were pretty awesome days.
Right,
back then.
right. No, and we had,
Let's run down the hits. I mean, geez.
Well,
so many.
Huge hits. Eau de Toilette.
Yes.
That was one of them,
I
right?
think so. Boy, it's just a good thing none of that ever saw light of day. Holy cow.
I don't know. I think people would actually...
We played a lot of shows, though. A lot of basements.
A lot of basements.
Kenoy Williams.
Kenoy Williams, if you're out there, buddy.
The best manager in the whole world.
That's right. Got us our first gig at, was it Roscoe's?
Roscoe's, yeah.
Roscoe's.
Thankfully, there's pictures.
Are there pictures?
Oh, yeah.
There's a flyer down in my basement from it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still got a flyer from it. So, and then, a lot of house parties, a lot of
It was during the height of the sort of SoCal sublime punk reggae infusion, and we did quite a bit of that.
We did.
Ripping off.
We did. I had
the hot trend.
We had that song that was like a rip-off of, it was like a reggae Summer Lovin' song. But it was all about catching like a venereal disease or something like that. It was super.
Just being fun and young and having a good time.
Exactly.
Rolling around.
Herb. Yeah, it was definitely, like you say, sublime, 311. But times changed, and then so did we. So we evolved, I think, for a minute. And then everybody just kind of...
Well, the world's greatest drummer went off to be a rocket scientist.
To be a rocket scientist. And that left us in the lurch. Not, without a drummer, it's hard to kind of do too much. So,
and that, but then when do you think you first picked up a guitar? It was right around then, don't you think? Maybe 2002.
It was definitely around then, and I think it was probably, it was probably like 2000 or maybe 2001 or 2000. But it was due to not having access to a really good piano anymore. My keyboard. I was never happy with the keyboard sound that you get from a Casio or from a really cheap generic keyboard that you have. So, so I decided that I'd rather learn the guitar. And also having you around, it was nice to have somebody that could kind of guide me in the right direction.
Well, you were totally self-taught, guitar-wise.
Yeah. I didn't have much. No, you're right. It was pretty much just I think I had a Mel Bay chord book, and I remember trying to just learning all the chords that I could from that made sense to me. And then it was a matter of using the knowledge that I had from piano and putting that towards the guitar.
Musical
knowledge. Yeah, like knowing that an E has if you're playing an E major chord and you have a G sharp in it, so trying to learn the G sharp chord or something like that,
Yeah.
And figuring out what notes went together. So, yeah. But now I love the guitar, and I can't imagine not playing it.
Well, and then that, I guess we're bringing up to speed. We're probably around 2000, mid 2000s. The I Can't.
Yeah.
How did that get started?
It got started because bands dried up, and I needed an outlet, and I really wanted to play. I really wanted to play guitar I wanted to be a front man. I wanted to be the singer, and I didn't want to be like an Elton John or a Billy Joel type of singer. I wanted to be a rock singer. So the I Cants came about because, yeah, I knew a good drummer.
Let's talk about Adam. How
Sure.
did you meet Adam?
We played in a band called The Smokes.
Sister's alright. This one down Death Row. Looking for soul. You know what I am? I'm a oh, this one down Death Row.
So Adam, you know, I call him the most underrated drummer of all time. I always I would start a band with that guy any day.
Yeah. No, I'm very lucky to still have him in my life, and occasionally I'm lucky enough that we get to play together still. But
I will never forget the night at the Tonic. It was a Blue Skies show, and I saw him lay down some impressive rhythmic drumming.
Yeah?
It impressed the crap out of me.
were the
'Cause
Smokes
that-
opening for Blue Skies?
I
Is
think
that
so,
what happened?
yeah,
I
yeah.
think I do remember that.
And the drums sounded so good that night, and he was so in the pocket and just in the groove. And that's what I love the most about Adam, is his complete and total engagement. He is 110% inside that song, and he is performing not selfishly, but trying to serve the song at all times. And that's just so rare.
Very
It's
true.
So rare.
Very true.
And he's an awesome dude.
He's an awesome dude. He is one of those guys that just kind of gets lost in the song too. When you like are playing and you look over at Adam, he is zoned out to the point where that's all he's thinking about. Like, you can try and get his attention. You go wave at him. You could even yell at him into the microphone. But if the song is in the middle and it's going, that's where he is. He's not thinking about anything else but the song.
That was your first attempt at being a frontman as a guitar player.
Was the I Can't.
Right.
Correct, yeah. Because I was just playing the keys at a Hohner pianette that I'd play with the Smokes. They just wanted keys because they were a blues band, sort of. And so we would practice in the place that Pat called his studio, which was a gentleman that went by Bill, and I'm not going to remember his last name, but he had a basement that was full of junk. But in the back of the basement, they had carved out a space where we could have a practice place, and Pat could do some recording and stuff like that. And
Pat Kearns, the Portland legend.
yes.
Also, Robert Burnham.
Also.
But I'm trying to
golden
remember who
voice.
was playing bass. Was that Seth?
No, bass was Robert, and he had the Thunderbird.
Oh my God, I forgot all about that.
And Pat would play. Pat played guitar. Adam played the drums, and then I brought the Hohner. Actually, the first time I played with them, I brought a Casio, and and I was surprised that they wanted me to come back, because I was not impressed with the sound that I added to their band. But eventually we got that Hohner, and we amped it, and it got this really super like grungy, gritty sound that was just that fit really well with everything else. So
when we get to Hollywood.
Oh yeah, running for the
Everybody's
coast.
singing back.
That's
singing
very true.
backups. That was a good one.
That was a
So
fun
many
one to
good tunes.
play. That was a fun song, because it started on a C sharp, and you didn't have too many songs that were, all the rest.
And
of the
Rob
songs
had
were-
that big, smoky, rich voice.
man.
He was such a good lyric writer. Too.
Yes, and
It
that
really drove.
baritone voice that came through, man. Everybody loved that voice. We just matched up really well. I think everybody's voice matched up really well with this band. So it was good. But once it ended, it was Adam and I still wanted to keep playing, and I don't remember when we'd met Drew, but we had met Drew, and the I Can'ts kind of came into existence because of that.
That song previously played in the podcast where Mark was playing brilliant guitar, that was an I Can't song. Tell me what it was like being on tour with Blue Skies up and down the West Coast. What was that?
That was pretty dope, actually. That was my first experience. And it wasn't just up and down the West Coast. It was my first time I got to go to New York. Was with Blue Skies, and we did we did a show in Brooklyn, and then we did a show in.
Didn't you guys play the Beacon? Or was it was some really hoity
the
gig?
Grocery store or something like that, I think it was called.
Oh.
But it was not a grocery store, but it was a hoity gig. Yeah, it was definitely mostly hipsters. But I do remember getting out to the East Coast and having to play on a keyboard that we bought from like a thrift store, and kind of feeling a little out of place just because it wasn't like I didn't have a Nord at the time. I didn't have a really great keyboard at the time. So, but we made it work. And we did some shows in Philadelphia, and we did a show in New York, and we did.
Then you had that horrible layover. Was it Buffalo or something?
I had a really bad layover. Yeah, it was like a 12-hour layover or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was stuck with
flying back to Portland.
Yeah.
That's the longest flight in the world, is the East Coast back to Portland.
Back to Portland.
Because you got to go against the wind the whole time.
It was huge. Yeah, that was a long one. So.
What always impressed me about Blue Skies is how efficiently they operated as a mover, sort of band packing element. Like, I remember watching them at Ron Tom's a few times where you'd watch them load out and it would happen so fast. They would have that van packed and they would all have their little seat in it and they were off. And
then we'd be gone.
It was like a machine, man. It was
or
crazy.
they'd be gone. Yeah, that was even before me, even with the Kelly and the Paul days. I think his name was Paul. Michael Lewis, Pat Kearns, Paul and Kelly. And then I came, and then there was a little bit of friction in Blue Skies, and the band changed, and Pat started to change the way he played.
Oh yeah, big time.
He got more country-esque, I would say.
Oh, for sure. I mean, listen to the first Blue Skies record and listen to the Pat solo stuff.
One, or the Pat solo one, or even the one that I played on, and it's.
But I mean, Here Comes the Rain was a huge hit for those guys. I mean, around Portland, they had that Burnside compilation.
Now I wonder, will you ever come around? You got my eye, so I lied about leaving. I'm sorry. Here comes the rain. Here comes the rain.
You guys knew each other from previous bands, and before you know it, you're kind of journeyman keyboard filling in on sessions. And
I played on almost every Blue Skies album, maybe minus one, which was probably the most popular one. Was the one that I didn't get to play on, but and they had like songs that were on like Eastbound and Down, and they had songs that were. One day I was just watching the Today Show, and all of a sudden, Your Hair Changes came up during like their hairdressing segment. I remember calling Pat and congratulating him, and he had no idea that they had actually used a song on there, and he had to get his lawyer involved so that he can get paid for it.
Yeah, I don't know. I forget the name of the song is, but it's Whatever Happened to AM Radio and Roller Skates.
Oh yeah. What is that song?
Whatever happened to the good old days? The AM radio and roller skates. I'd do anything if I could escape. Now the best to get a coffee break.
That's super poppy, though. That was super poppy.
That was a great song. I remember being very jealous of Mike's Stratocasters.
Oh, man.
He had some great guitars. Plus, he's a really good player.
That's true.
And he looks so cool, dude. He's
when
such
a
rock star.
Very true.
Because he wore the Strats so high up that it would kind of, it was almost like he was dancing.
Right.
Dude, let's talk about that single you just did. What are you calling it?
The piano one?
Yeah,
The
that
piano
works for
one?
me.
That
I
works
think was
for
the
me?
working title. But
Yeah, and I think that might be
that's going to be the next joint to drop, right? I mean,
I think, oh yeah, for sure, because that's the one that I'm the most happy with. There is a bass track that's floating around that I'd love to get into it. That's Seth Gibson, bass player extraordinaire.
also in the Smokes.
Also in the Smokes.
Yeah. Chicken Shift.
Also in Chicken Shift.
Also Seth Gibson's solo career.
Seth Gibson's solo career.
We haven't even touched the Senators.
No,
but,
that's
yeah.
true. That's true. Yeah, that's a whole nother beast. But yeah, we've been playing music with him since we met him, probably.
That song, playing it for my parents, everybody's really loved it so
That
far.
works for me.
I mean, just the rough mix.
Yeah.
It seems to be very landing. It's landing across a wide spectrum.
A lot
large
of people
demographic.
from the age demographic on that one seems to go from little to small, or from old to young, and young to old. People seem to like That Works for me. And that kind of came about from.
Talk me through that creative process.
That song came out from my girlfriend leaving. I'm in a long distance relationship right now, and it's hard staying positive when when you have to say goodbye all the time. So that song was kind of like my way to get it off my chest, the way that I was feeling about always having to say goodbye, but always knowing that it's not goodbye. It's just goodbye for now. So.
To transition, from being a rock and roll singer into, CAC nerdcore, is that what they would
nerdcore.
call it?
Totally.
How do you put a label on CAC?
It's hard, but we'd rap about everything. So I think nerdcore is probably a good, and it was before nerdcore was around. You know what I mean? Before there was even a term for it. So
to then being a session player, keyboards, Smokes, various bands, various sessions, to then transitioning to playing bass for
the Senators
/ Class Hopper, whatever they're going to call
Class
it.
Hopper, right.
Dickheads, but
yeah.
we always say one of the it's a pretty amazing job on bass if you listen to those records.
Thanks,
which
man.
hopefully will be getting released someday. But
That would be awesome.
to then picking up the guitar and then. But bada bing, bada boom. I mean, it's just a jack of all trades. The versatility, from singing, playing keys, playing guitar. Pretty. That's a lot of special abilities.
I owe that just to paying attention to what other people do, man. I think I pick up a lot from John and Adam as far as how I drum. I think I pick up a lot from my guitar playing from you, and Seth actually also. And then also incorporating the way I play piano into all those other instruments. So I'm just lucky that I have people to play with. That's my thing. I mean, I love being able to go down to my basement and record all these songs on my own, but none of these songs were supposed to ever be songs that I just recorded and released. They were always songs that I wanted to go out and play live and have a full band that I could play with to do these songs. So.
Well, in closing, hey, thanks for doing the 525 Records,
Yeah.
first ever 525 Records podcast. It's been a pleasure having you. It's
awesome,
been awesome to talk and relive some of the past and also the future, which is the new single. Look for it out there. 525records.com. Mark Breitenbach, SoundCloud, Bandcamp.
Yep, you got it.
It's
Both of them.
a challenging last name to spell, but
It is. I'll spell it though for everybody.
Yeah.
BREITENBACH.
sweet. Yeah.
Yeah. So please.
Also, Less Cash, I Can't, The Smokes.
And there's a lot of tunes that'll be popping up on lesscashmusic.com. That's my website that I have. So yeah, lesscashmusic.com, all one word. You can go there, and you can also hit Bandcamp up through that way as well.
Bandcamp is the greatest.
It's pretty sweet,
It's just
dude.
the best.
It's
dude.
pretty sweet.
Bandcamp is the best.
It is. It is.
Well, that's going to do it. Thanks for
Awesome,
listening,
man.
everybody.
Thank you for having me on here.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Can't wait to to come back again and hopefully not too long.
I just am so lucky to land, in Portland every once in a while. It's a pretty awesome
I think
city.
I'm lucky.
so.
Dude. I think I'm lucky to still have a connection with you, brother.
Well, there you go. That works for me. The new single by Mark Breitenbach.
Awesome.
Thanks for listening, everybody. 525 Records Podcast out.
525.
One more thing. That song was a song called Slow Jam. It was a pre-production home recording cut that came out really good performance-wise. This song you're about to hear is the new single. We were blabbing on and on about. It's the hot new song that is making all the underemployed musicians' parents so happy. And yeah, but we like it too. As you get older, your tastes change. You can't be a punk rocker forever. I mean, some people can. The real punk rockers can. But for everybody else, there's country and jazz.
Distances grow as they stay closer to you. No matter how far you will stay.